The Ottomans ruled over modern-day Syria until the early 20th century, but during World War I many Arabs agreed to fight for the Allies against the Turks, under the belief that they would achieve independence after the war. The Sharif of Mecca, Hussein bin Ali, who took over the Kingdom of Hejaz, led the fight against the Ottomans alongside the British and the French. And there was also the Al-Fatah, an underground Arab nationalist group founded in Syria before the war. Together they drove the Ottomans north through the Levant and entered Damascus late in the war. However, the French and the British had signed the Sykes-Picot Agreement on how they would divide the Ottoman Empire between themselves. So to try and align all conflicting promises made during the war, they implemented the Sharifian solution, which would give the sons of the Sharif of Mecca control of their own kingdoms. So when the British under General Edmund Allenby entered Syria, he brought Faisal, one of his sons, and made him the constitutional king of the new Syrian state, while his prime minister was al-Rikabi, an Al-Fatah member who had served with the Ottoman army during the war. However, the French were also fighting the Turks over control of land in eastern Anatolia, and they soon landed in Latakia. But there, a group of Alawites, a sect of Shia Islam, had seized control after the Ottomans' departure, and in the surrounding mountains fought another Shia sect, the Ismailis, for control. The French tried to mediate between the two groups, but this just caused the Alawites to rise up against the French. Meanwhile, at the Paris Peace Conference in 1919, the British agreed to French control in Syria in exchange for a British mandate over Palestine and Mosul. But the King Crane Commission, led by the Americans, found that while most people wanted complete independence of a united Syria, if they were to have any assistance, they favoured the Americans and British, and the French were the least popular choice. However, after the British had withdrawn, Faisal was forced to agree to only allow French advisors. So the Syrian Congress met in 1920, forced Faisal to backtrack, and al-Atassi, the new prime minister, declared independence in March. The Syrians began to organise into militias and attack French troops, and at Tel Hai they even clashed with a Jewish militia. Plus, as the French continued to fight the Turks, the Turkish leader Ataturk funded another anti-French rebellion, the Hanunu Revolt. This was named for its leader, Ibrahim Hanunu, and consisted mainly of guerrilla attacks around Aleppo, Idlib and Antioch. But the following month the British and French met at the San Remo conference to finalise what was to happen to the Middle East, and French control was assured by the League of Nations. So in July 1920, Henri Gouraud, commander of French forces in Syria, issued an ultimatum to the Syrians, demanding that they disband their troops and accept French control. Faisal, worried about a long and unsuccessful fight, quickly surrendered to French demands, and the French entered Aleppo unopposed on the 23rd. But many ignored Faisal, including Yusuf al-Azma, his defence minister, and he led his forces to Maysalun, where they met the advancing French on the 24th of July. He, however, could only raise a couple thousand men, and he faced an army of 12,000 well-equipped French professional soldiers with tanks and air support. Faced against such odds, defeat was inevitable, and he was killed in battle, but this battle denied French rule absolute legitimacy. After this victory, the French could occupy Damascus, meeting little resistance, establish French rule, and end the short-lived Arab kingdom. Syria was then divided into different states, the Hanunu Revolt was crushed the following year, and the Alawite Revolt ended a couple years after that. As he had lost Syria, the British offered Faisal the position of King of Iraq, where he eventually managed to secure independence in 1932, just before his death. However, in Syria the French faced a great deal of opposition, and the Great Syrian Revolt broke out in 1925.